Good morning. Today, on this drive to work, I have been thinking about planning. Specifically financial planning, but also mental planning. So when you want to take a jump, a leap, a change, many people think that when people, start their own business, or one, I feel like false things are, one, it's like an overnight success, right? It's like, oh wow, that was amazing. Oh, just overnight they transformed themselves and became this really successful business person with this business and all this stuff. But you hear the behind the scenes info, and usually it's taken them like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So really, is it an overnight success? And then also, I've been looking more into it and just more into how I'm doing this. And also, really, is it an impulsive move? Not that move where it's just kind of like one day you sit up from your full-time job and you say, that's it, it's over, I'm quitting. And like you go, you just do your thing without any plan, cold. I mean, of course, some people probably do that, and it makes it for a very good dramatic story. But in reality, if you want to do this in the least disruptive way, especially if you have family that might be depending on you and your income, you want to plan, right? So, and for me, that was the biggest thing that was holding me back, is financials, right? If it wasn't for my very good steady salary, chances are I would have been willing to make this leap ages ago. But it's very hard to leave a good job, a steady salary, and especially when you have two little kids, and a very high standard of living, cost of living, right? So, what I have done, which I highly recommend you guys to do, is you plan for it. And it's not until now that I feel like it's actually going to happen. So what I have done is I've been working with a financial planner. And what does this financial planner do? This financial planner is essentially giving me a roadmap of how long, or how I can survive when I leave my job. You notice I said when, not if, right? Never say if, always say when, or, that whole thing. But because it was all up in the air. In my mind, I said I needed to replace my salary completely, right? In order to be able to leave my job. Which, in reality, it's unrealistic, because there's so many expenses that might go away if you leave your full-time job. For me, it's this car. This car that I'm sitting in right now. This car cost me nearly $1,000 a month for maintenance, insurance, gas, and then the garage costs for New York City. Nearly $1,000 a month. If I quit my job, I can lose this car, and that's $12,000 a year right there. So things like that really come into play, and you have to think about that when you're accounting for money. So that being said, I met with this financial planner. What we did was we gave her all the information, the same thing as you do like your accountant, let's say, but you give all your information, all your funds, and along with your expenses and what you spend in estimate each month on different expenses. And then what do? This is the cool part. At least I think it's cool. Maybe I'm just dorking out over this. But they take all that information and they give you scenarios and how you can do it, right? So they give you how your current plan is. So yeah, they give you how your current plan is and what your financial outlook will be in that current plan if you stay in your job forever. And then they give you alternatives. So for me specifically, and they'll cater it to what your needs are. Like if your need is, I want to retire in 5 years, then they'll cater it to how you can retire in 5 years. For me, it was, how can I leave my day job in order to pursue my other business and still be able to put food on the table and keep up my current lifestyle. So for me, they came back and they gave me the current and the alternative was basically they gave me like a very conservative salary after I leave, because I'm not planning on making zero throughout these next couple of years, but I'm not going to make nearly, well, I shouldn't say I'm not going to. I'm going to be conservative and say I'm not going to make nearly, because really I'm going to double it, right, guys? But anyway, and then what they had it doing, it's like, so I've been personally, like, we've been really good with retirement, saving for retirement. Since I was 18, my dad forced me to put the full amount in the Roth IRA every year, and I've been doing that since I was 18. So thank you, Dad, for that. And everyone's like always impressed when they see that. They're like, they actually asked me if I had inherited some of my Roth IRA, because they're like, why is there so much money in your Roth? Did you inherit it? I was like, no, my dad forced me to put all my money in there since I got my first job at 18, and it's just like stuck with me. So that's like every financial planner's dream or accountant's dream. But in any case, for me, they're like, okay, you can afford to stop contributing to your retirement funds for 3 years. And for that saves me, well, I shouldn't save me, but that gives me additional like $18,000 that I would have put in retirement, let's say. And other things are, for me, we have some savings. So what they did say is, like, for the next 3 years, you're going to be pulling this amount from savings. So basically, for the next 3 years, they put me at a loss and negative, and pulling from savings and not contributing to retirement. But it gave me 3 years time to make up my salary. Which, my first reaction was like, wait, and like stop giving to retirement? That's against anything that I was told, that I should always continue giving to retirement, which is why I have such a good retirement plan right now. But that was my first initial thing. Second for me was, I am the type of personality that does not like a loss. I do not like to pull out of savings. I work really hard to put my money in savings. So the idea of like pulling, $15,000, $18,000 a year out of my savings and not saving anything, it's like that. I have to totally rethink in my head about, like, that was my initial feeling. And then the third was what they had me making through the next 3 years. So the first year that I leave my job, I would have to make $20,000. And then the second year, something like $30,000, and then the third year, maybe like $40,000. So essentially, this is the plan if I make $20,000 that first year. And that's where I was like, okay, this is really interesting, because one, I like that those numbers are so conservative, and it also brought me back to the days when I made like my first job out of school, out of college, and I think I made like $25,000 that year. But it was amazing, right? It's like that first job, you're like paychecks, you're working every day, and you're becoming an adult. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is amazing. And I was bootstrapping it, of course, living in New York with making $25,000. But I was just like, and it just brought me back, and I was like, well, I did it once. Well, one, I was just like, $20,000 is not that much for me these days. I can just bang that out consulting, doing some freelance gigs, and boom, I've hit my $20,000 mark. But that was amazing. That was like a very liberating thought, and this is exactly what I wanted in this financial planning, to be like, okay, that's very doable for me. I could see how I can make $20,000 in a year, and then still, and not stress about where the money's coming from, because there's a plan. There's a specific plan. I know it's going to be okay, and I have 3 years to make up my current income to get it up to that level. So the pressure's off. It's not like this, I quit and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I gotta make over $100,000 right away, and have that anxiety over my head. It's like, okay, I have a plan, and it's like little bite-sized pieces. And of course, the best part is, you don't have to just make that $20,000. If I don't want to pull additional $18,000 or $15,000 from my savings that year, I'll just make another $15,000 and boom, I don't have to pull from my savings. And going on, if I make an additional $5,500, I can use that money and put in my Roth IRA. So it gives you the flexibility. It starts like on the extreme is kind of how I see it. And then, but then it's like, it's a target. And it feels like a game almost to me, where I could be like, oh, well, look, I hit my target. Now let's go further. And this is why, and I've got to say, after doing this, I feel so much more ready to leave my current job because it's a plan. I know specifically what's going to happen, how I'm going to do it, and most importantly, it's going to be okay. And worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, it doesn't work out within 3 years, and then I go back to the workforce and I get another job. That's the worst case scenario. So that's not so bad, right, guys? And that's it. That's all I have to say about when you make these leaps. It's scary. It's so scary. But if you plan for it, once the day comes when you have to pull the plug and say, okay, I'm going to leave now, it's not going to be scary at all, because you're going to have everything in place. You're going to have your financials in place. You're going to know how you're going to do it. You're going to have your business plan in place, and you're just going to move forward. There's not going to be that freak out. I mean, maybe there will be that freak out moment, but most likely it's going to be like a like celebrating type of moment, I'm assuming. So, okay, watch out for the blind spot. Anyway, I will see you guys later, and that's it. Go out there and plan.